right here on Legends 105.1. Let's go to our Johnson Ford guest line. Good morning. You're live with Lou in the morning.
Good morning, Lou. How are you?
Hello, Brett. How are you?
I'm doing good. Probably a little bit early on you here, but I hope that's okay.
Well, that's fine, but it means that we can get out of here a little earlier, right? All right, Grieger, Taste the Rabbits, our special guest on our Johnson Ford guest line. I got to, how's your weather in PA?
It's actually beautiful today. It's a little chilly on the chilly side, but it's sunny, and the rabbits are coming out in the yard, but I'm not chasing them around yet.
You're not chasing any rabbits, right?
Well, figuratively, we all are.
Yeah, we always are chasing that rabbit. Explain that theory again to our listeners.
So the title of the book comes from greyhound dog racing as a metaphor for this, what I consider the plight of the American middle class. You know, we're all sort of running on a hamster wheel. No matter how hard you work, you can't get ahead. And that's because what we call the American dream is kept deliberately out of reach. It's always, you never quite catch up. You can't quite pay off your house for 30 or 40 years. You can't really own your property. Even if you pay it off, you don't really own it. So, we're all chasing a fake rabbit around a track we can never catch. And that rabbit is the American dream. And it's this chase, it's this effort that enriches the track owners. It enriches the banking aristocracy with the interest we pay on all of our debt, both the personal debt and national debt, and things like that. So it's a complicated mechanism, and the essence of the story or the essence of the book is that our property rights are gone. We've had our property rights eradicated, and our quest to try to recapture those property rights is the chase. It never ends.
Always like chasing your tail, isn't it?
It is. We're running in circles by design. That's really the premise of the book, is that this is deliberately engineered into our economy. And most people in America live under this false idea that we live in a free enterprise system where we actually own our property, and we live in a free enterprise capitalist system. Nobody alive today has seen free enterprise capitalism in practice. And yet, capitalism is always blamed for our economic ills, for the wealth gap. But it's a system we haven't practiced in 100 years. So that's one of the principles of the book, is that most of what we are told, most of what we believe, is a fraud. But there's an awakening. I mean, there's definitely an awakening happening in the United States. We see it in everything. We see it in our politics and our government. We see it in this huge ideological divide that's going on. So there's an awakening to this condition in America, for sure.
Brett, there's a lot is happening and surrounding the presidency. A big notation out this morning. Even a lot of the Washington insiders are trying to get Trump out of office. I tell you what, I mean, the guy had been there, 60 days, and it's amazing the number of people that want him out. And I don't know. I just have a difficult time understanding what's going on in our country.
Well, it's tough. It's difficult because there's so many complex dynamics going on, and there's as many people in America that are happy that he's in than those that want him out, first of all. It's just that those that want him out are the ones that are the most vocal,
that's right,
active. I was having a conversation the other day. Somebody asked me, if America was, potentially headed for another civil war, and that was an interesting comment. There's actually a couple books about that just recently, about civil wars in general and how they work. And somebody said, we're going to have another civil war in this country. And I said, yeah, but if we do head into a civil war, that's going to be our first real civil war, first of all. We never really had a civil war before. The war between the states wasn't a civil war, first of all. A civil war is when you have an insurrection or a revolution where an insurgency tries to take over the standing government and replace it. That didn't happen in the American Civil War. That was the secessionists. The southern states seceded and formed their own government, independent of the Union. They didn't try to take over the government. They just wanted it out. They wanted their independence, just like America wanted its independence. And so people don't really understand what a civil war really is. What we have going on now truly is a civil war, and it's actually been going on for a while. So far, there hasn't been a violent civil war, but we have one nevertheless. And I think the reason for it is because what I just mentioned, this description of the conditions that we're living under, this rat race, this rabbit chase that we're all in, that was never intended for this country. Our founding principles guaranteed to the American people that we had property rights, that we had control of our own lives, and nobody has that anymore. So in my view, what has really happened is over the past 100 years, there was a silent coup, kind of a silent overtaking of our own governance and a corruption of our governance, very surreptitiously and over a very long process, so that we are not, the America today is not the America that we were intended to have by our founders. And this civil war that's going on right now, I think, is kind of a counter coup. it's a rejection of this Marxist, collectivist economic model that's been surreptitiously infused in our governance in order to enable this welfare state that we have, in order to enable the vast military-industrial complex, the corporatocracy, the banking aristocracy, all of these things that control our lives. And so we could have an actual civil war in that context, and it could get worse. It may, and that's what you're seeing. This dissent against the Trump administration is a feature of that.
Fred Grieger, our special guest on our Johnson Forward guest line, Fred, the author of the book Chase the Rabbit, and a regular guest with us here on Lou in the Morning. As you look at this wiretapping, sabotaging, I don't know, you name it, issue, what's your take, Fred?
Well, that's part of what you're just referring to.
Right, absolutely.
There definitely is this desire among part of the ruling class to get Trump out. They fear him. The status quo fears him, both on the Republican side and on the Democrat side. I characterize it like this. Our country is so divided, but it's not divided like it was. Like I was talking about the Civil War. That was the North versus the South. Okay. Today we've got ideological groups in the dozens, which have disparate ideas and conflicting ideas, and 1/3 of the country believes in Marxism, 1/3 of the country believes in fascism, okay, and the other third of the country doesn't know the difference between those two,
right,
and believes we have free enterprise capitalism, and we don't have free enterprise capitalism. So what Donald Trump, I think, is trying to do is to try to do as much as he can. I'm supporting him. I didn't initially. I initially supported Rand Paul and even Ted Cruz in the primaries because I believe in their small government philosophy. They're definitely real constitutionalists. And I was suspicious of Donald Trump that he wasn't a constitutionalist. But what he's done during the general election and since he's been in office gives me a great deal of hope and a great deal of optimism that he's really turned the corner. He's doing things, to try to restore constitutional authority. And that scares the bejesus out of the establishment Republicans and out of all of the Democrats. And that's why he's being wiretapped. That's why they're trying to discredit him. That's why they're trying to grasp at any straw they can to try to subvert the authority of his administration. We see that with what the judges have done with his executive order to restrict immigration and more strictly vet immigrants to protect our sovereignty, to protect our citizens. And what he did was absolutely within the law. He had every right and every authority to implement those two executive orders, both of which were hamstringed by these two judges, one in Hawaii and one in Oregon, these two leftist liberal judges. Our judiciary is out of control, and that's an example of that. They are not supposed to legislate from the bench, and they're what those two judges did, in my view, was illegal.
How about Judge Gorsuch? What do you see happening with his as far as the ability to get him on the bench? We're gonna relegate him back to the bench, right? What's your take there?
It's an interesting question. I don't know a lot about Gorsuch except what I've read, and so if what I've read is true, then I'm encouraged. I hope he gets confirmed because he's evidently an originalist, which means he believes in the original meaning and intent of the Constitution. I refuse to use the word interpretation because that's misused all the time when it comes to the Constitution.
Right.
And I can elaborate on that if you want to. But with respect to Gorsuch, there's definitely definitely a lot of malfeasance afoot in terms of the confirmation process to try to subvert his confirmation. The leftists within our government don't want him in there because he will be evidently an adequate replacement for Scalia. And Scalia was their nemesis. Scalia was the thorn in their side because he was always the voice of reason in terms of bringing real constitutional authority to every decision, which is what the Supreme Court was supposed to do. The Supreme Court is not supposed to be an activist body. It is not supposed to reinterpret the meaning of the Constitution. The Supreme Court's job is to interpret law in terms of its constitutionality. And if a law is unconstitutional, it's supposed to be thrown out. The Supreme Court hasn't been doing that. The Supreme Court wants to continue to have the authority to implement some whatever agenda the president that appointed them had. And we have two justices now that were appointed by Obama, and a couple of very left-leaning moderate judges that were appointed even by previous Republican presidents, like Roberts, which is very disappointing for some of the decisions he's made. And very few of them really adhere to their oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And Gorsuch is one who has stated repeatedly that that's his value system and his character. And that's what we need. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be confirmed. I hope so. But there's definitely a lot of, like I said, malfeasance afoot within the Senate to try to disrupt that.
Fred Grieger, our special guest on our Johnson Ford guest line, Chase the Rabbit, the title of Fred's book. Fred, we have it up at radiobookshelf.com. Other locations for the book?
Oh, yeah. It's on Amazon. It's on barnesandnoble.com. I have my own website, which is chase-the-rabbit, chase-the-rabbit.com. It's going to soon, hopefully, make it into stores. It wasn't in retail stores until now, but fairly soon it's going to get into the retail stores finally. So get on my website. I can ship out a signed copy, or on Radio Bookshelf, as you said, or on Amazon. It's very inexpensive as an ebook, and it's educational. I think it's a must-read. The reviews on Amazon are very good. Everybody that's read it has said this is a must-read. It should be required reading in high schools and colleges across America. I've had that comment numerous times from people, so that's very flattering and grateful for those kinds of comments. That's not what I was in it for. I really just want people to wake up and see what's happening to their lives and to their property and try to restore this country's foundation so we can once again be that shining beacon that America used to be.
Very good. Well, what else is out there that you might find of interest for our listeners?
We kind of started, I was listening to your previous caller, actually, so I wanted to comment on that, your previous interview. He's correct in terms of what's reported.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah.
The reporting that unemployment is the lowest it's been in 20 years, that's absolutely a fraud. Unemployment is not reported properly. I want to tell your listeners about a website they should check out. It's called shadowstats.com. It's short for shadow statistics. So shadowstats, STATS.com. And that publishes actual real data in terms of how the calculation used to be done back before 1994, before the Clinton administration perverted all of the calculations, not just for unemployment, but for inflation, for all of these other bogus statistics that the government puts out in order to dupe everyone into believing things are better than they are. So unemployment, according to that calculation, when it was calculated before 1994, would be 22.7%, which is a staggering figure, and that's true. So the economic condition that we're living under today is still horrifying, and what Mr. Trump has ahead of him is a monumental task. What he has to do to try to fix this country is unfathomable. It's a monumental undertaking. And if your listeners want to know what's really going on, shadowstats.com is a very good website to check out what's really true.
Fred Grieger, our special guest on our Johnson Ford guest line. Fred, it's always a pleasure to have you, my man.
It's always a pleasure for me. Thank you, sir.
How's our little one doing?
He's doing great. I actually have him here again. He's in the next room playing a game.
Oh, he didn't want to talk to Mr. Lou this morning.
I told him he could if he wanted to, but he's so absorbed in his video game. I think he's not gonna bang on the door this time. I was kind of hoping he would. He's busy, but maybe next time.
All right. Thanks
for
Fred.
having me.
All right. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.
You take care.
There you go. Fred Grieger. We'll be back. All right. Welcome back. Lou in the morning. morning right here on Legend.